Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel review anything and everything. And mind the fact that I have the AC on. It is a brutally hot day of like about 100 degrees, so don't mind. I couldn't bear not having it on. So I'm hopefully that sound is not interfering with the sound of this video. So I apologize in advance if you are hearing too much of that sound. So what we're gonna do now is we're actually gonna jump into doing a couple of mods to this Stinger Mantis Lego style ship. Now, I had previously did a review on the ship, and the mods that we're gonna do, I actually included them at the end of that video, but just in case if people just wanna see an independent separate video with just some little upgrades or mods that you could do to it. It's nothing major. It's really just revolving around certain seating areas as well as one of the plant area display areas on the ship. So we're gonna get into that and help Calcastis and BD1 actually straighten out some issues that they have in the interior of their ship. So let's jump into it. So the area that we're going to be focusing on is here. So the issue is this: when the designer originally made this setup, he actually originally put this table closer to this section here, covering up the overlay of the couch. This part was covered and that part wasn't. The problem is then when he did this to make it aesthetically more pleasing, because in the game you see that this has, you know, the top layer of the couch, the cushion area is orange, top layer of the couch has gray, like rimming on the top. By showing that structure, pushing the table back, you eliminate the actual ability for anyone to sit. Now, first, when I seen reviews of this, I assumed to myself that a person could, like a minifigure, could get their legs underneath there, but you actually can't. There's no way to make that happen. So what we are going to do is we are going to adjust this here. And I showed this before in a previous video, but I also showed this, well, in the review, but I also showed that it's hard to actually, it might be a little bit harder to do after the fact, because these walls are here where when I showed it, we didn't have these walls. So let's see that we can do this while everything is still completely put together, because that would allow you guys to know that you could do it as well while things are completely put together. So the first things first is we dismantle the table. Easiest way to get to this is lift that up like that. We're gonna remove this piece anyway, so that's fine. We're just gonna move this one over, as so. And there you go. And that's gonna be the basis for our table. So what we're also gonna do is this. I'm gonna remove this right here. And I'm glad it comes off pretty easy. You can see the setup right there. Mind you how that looks, because what we're gonna end up doing is we're gonna end up taking these. Now, I'm gonna show you alternatively placing in regular Lego. Let's see if I'm gonna be able to take this out like this. Regular Lego, sorry, give me 1 second. Regular Lego seats. Taking that one out too. Well, I'm only gonna have 2 seats also, because that third seat, you really can't utilize it, to be honest with you. Let's see if we're gonna be able to get this out. Okay, the way I had to get it out was I removed this so I can get it at a better angle. I'm not gonna use that piece. I'm simply gonna stick with these 2 setups. But what I'll show you is this. I'm gonna take these off because I like to keep that piece there. And then what I will do is put a regular seat on here, and then also on this one too. So we have 2 of them, and there's enough space in between. Well, first let me set the table back up now. And now you get an idea of how this looks. And I'm gonna keep it this way with the table like this, regardless of what I decide to do with the seats. And like I said, now you're losing that side of the couch, but it's fine because now you actually have usable sitting area. And so we'll put this here. I'm not gonna place them hard because I'm gonna end up taking them out, but I just wanna show you that this is how you could have the seats. And then in that case, you could put your figures there sitting side by side. Now, by removing the third seat out of there too, it allows you to at least be able to, you can't utilize that third seat. No one can actually sit in it. In my review, I show and depict, I'm gonna have a link in the description to my review, that you can't really sit somebody there anyway. At the end of my review, I have this clip of just what I'm doing here, essentially, and you can't put anybody there. So that is something just to note. Now, if these chairs were orange, I would honestly, without a doubt, keep them. But because they're not and they're red, I'm gonna keep the original chairs and I'm gonna kind of utilize them almost like bar stools. So what I am going to do is put them back together the way I showed you right before I took them apart, like this. And I'm gonna put them down, but I gotta put them down one additional stud away, so that way they're not right up against it, so someone can sit. But I'm gonna keep these like the orange aesthetic. I don't really like the setup here. Now, if you have orange chairs, if they make orange chairs, if they don't, Lego normally makes this piece as one solid piece rather than these separate individual ones. But nonetheless, if you wanna save pieces, just use the ones you have here. If you got this from Barweer, if otherwise you bought this from, sourcing parts, then you probably would just have been able to pick the piece that you want. And if that's the case, you're sourcing parts, if there are available orange chairs or any other alternative, I wouldn't even bother with these. I would even be able to go with just like a stool type of setup, maybe a circular kind of stool or anything if you want to go with. My point is you don't have to be limited to that. So I'm gonna do that. I'm not gonna have the third one there, and I'm gonna stick with those so that way I keep the orange aesthetic. Now, what I'm also gonna do is this piece right here. Let me try to change the angle. Okay, so the little flower pot thing right here, it kind of gets inside the way of the walkway. It's not super bad, so I'm not telling you like it's really bad, but a figure can't really fit there because it does cut into the walk space. Even though you could just imagine to yourself that the figure is able to just walk up, it's not a problem. But if you wanted to make that a little slimmer, and I'm just gonna use the parts that I have available, the extra parts from the set. I'm not gonna use anything extra, but if you wanted to, obviously after the fact, customize it with some other pieces, you could do that. I'm not gonna do that here. What I'm gonna do is this, and I may not leave it like this, but I just wanna show you this alternate way of doing it. So here we're gonna take, this is how the piece normally looks. We can from this angle so you guys see the lighting a little better. That's how it normally looks. So it's supposed to simulate like the framing. And the framing is what gets in the way. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm going to, first you take this piece off. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna split this whole thing open. I'm going to pull the flowers out of that piece there. Don't mind, this thing's a little bit wobbly because I don't have it on its landing gear. I have it on its auxiliary landing support, which is in the instructions. I mentioned that inside the video. And so you can see this like here. Now, even though I could just keep that framing piece, but this still sticks out onto that area on the side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get rid of that and I'm gonna replace it with just simply a white brick. Now, the problem with this is definitely gonna make it harder to remove this when I wanna separate it. So I'm not gonna press it all that hard. But you can see in place of that gray piece, here that goes off to the side, I just replaced it with a white one because that's what I had extra in the set. If you have a gray one, you could do that. I couldn't find a gray one with the extra pieces in the set, So I use that. That's the same top piece. So instead of having the framing, we're gonna, like in our mind, assume the framing. Now on the bottom, I didn't have another white square or even a gray square to simulate. My flowers are trying to roll off the table. This as the base of that, where we would put this rest the whole flowers in. So what I'm gonna use instead is just this clear space to simulate more glass on the bottom of it. So I'm gonna go like that. And then I'm gonna put this on top. And then now that's our thing. And I don't know how this is gonna look, so this is the first time I'm testing this out, but let's squeeze it right there and see how that looks. I don't wanna press too tight because I may not keep it like this, and getting those squares off of it might be a little hard, squares at the top. So there you go. It may not look as good, but it does open up that pathway. So it's up to you if that's something you'd wanna do. It does make it, like I said, a little bit more room where a figure can now kind of walk through to a degree. Obviously, it doesn't have studs to step on, but it's a little bit easier to have them squeeze through if you wanted to squeeze them through. So that's pretty much that. Not much of upgrades, but I just want to kind of show that, especially this is really important because you don't have a sitting area otherwise. If you don't do this change, you don't have a sitting area. And I think that is very important because when it comes to this, say if you have a bunch of figures, you want to load them up in here and you want everyone sitting around, what's going to happen is you're going to have some areas that you can sit characters. You're going to be able to sit people obviously inside the cockpit area. You're going to be able to, don't mind my lights, I'm sorry. You're going to be able to sit people in the little lounge area with the holo system, holographic, what do you call it? Solar system thing, whatever you want to call it. And then you have that back area, which you wouldn't be able to sit. You have the couch right here, which you could sit one person there and one person on that side. But aside from that, you really would not be able to sit anybody in those seats. So if you don't do this, you don't have an option. And like I said, you might as well remove the third one because even though I know visually it's nice to see it there, the truth is that it can't be used at all. So this is just a way to kind of give you a little more seating. It takes away a little bit from the accuracy, but also allows it to be a little bit more playable. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys end up doing any kind of changes as well to this build. I really am a big fan of this build. And as always, you guys like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.